Good morning, everybody. Just making sure the microphone is still live for me. I was going to thank Denise directly again, but I think she's already offline. But I will start just by saying she knows her stuff. We're all here today for the right reasons, and I think we all are going to have some important takeaways to implement today and make sure that all the tips and tools are implemented from the top down and the bottom up, so that's so important. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Christy Gage Linderman. I am the COO at Gage Personnel, so we do staffing and recruiting. Believe it or not, we have over 500 manufacturing employees in Berks County today. That being said, I'm also the chair for the Berks County Workforce Development Board, so I'm not sure what hat I will be wearing today other than trying to help everyone continue to solve today's workforce challenges. With that, I'm excited to learn from our panel experts, and I'm not sure if everyone is in the room just yet, but I will start to do some introductions, and I want to read their bios and make sure I get everything right. So I am going to just take a moment and welcome Mark Dolinsky. I did see him already. He is the Vice President, here he is right down here, of Training and Professional Development with the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. If you would like to take your seat on stage, please go ahead and join me. Next, joining Mark, we have Alexia Pursley, who is the HR manager for Arkema. Come on up, how are you? Then we have Bonnie Spade right here in the front, Executive Director of Workforce and Economic Development for the Schmidt Training and Technology Center here at RAC. And finally, we have Terry Lampy, Business Development Manager of Berks County with Manufacturing Resource Center. Here's where I get into the details. Mark, as the VP of Training and Professional Development for Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, has been a practitioner in the field of learning and development for over 20 years and has managed both in-person and virtual training organizations. He has earned 4 associate's degrees, a bachelor's in marketing from Westchester University, and an MBA in quality leadership from St. Joseph's College of Maine, and has also conducted postgraduate research. Mark is a certified instructional designer and a member of the Association for Talent Development. So thank you, Mark. Alexia is joining us again, HR manager for Arkema, providing strategic HR support to the Birdsboro manufacturing facility and Arkema Developing Engineer program. In her position, she is responsible for the employee life cycle, as well as connecting business with community, an integral part of Arkema's strong commitment to corporate social responsibility. Prior to joining Arkema, Alexia championed strategic HR efforts for other companies in manufacturing and healthcare, securing her last employer a Governor's Achievement Award for success in workforce development. Alexia currently serves on the board as Executive Secretary for Berks Connections Pretrial Services, a nonprofit providing rehabilitative services to those involved in a criminal justice system. She attended RAC earlier in her educational career and is currently pursuing her MBA from Villanova. Awesome. I'm going to take a breath in between. You guys are really great. All right, Bonnie. In her position, Executive Director, she is responsible for providing a continuum of technology-based education and training to local and regional business and industry, dislocated and underemployed workers, and technology degree-seeking students. She is responsible for non-credit and credit training and education programs in workforce development, business, manufacturing, IT, mechatronics, automation, smart manufacturing, robotics, precision machining, industrial maintenance, and wastewater utilities. She works closely with diversified local and regional manufacturers and secondary educators to develop internships and job placement programs. Prior to joining RAC, Bonnie worked in business development for the Manufacturers Association of Berks County. She also held positions in engineering, quality control, quality assurance, sales, marketing, communications for a regional safety products manufacturer, and in production and supervision for pharmaceutical manufacturer. She holds a BS and MED in biological science from Kutztown University. Go Golden Bears. And last but not least, Terry. With Terry at the Manufacturing Resource Center, she has a strong background in economic development and knowledge of state and federal grants, which are valuable to all MRC clients. Small and mid-sized manufacturers know that they can turn to her for consulting services that drive improved profits and business growth, assisting area employers with certifications, workforce training, and development needs. And she can also assist with access to specialized coaching, mentorship, and a variety of businesses and marketing needs. Prior to joining MRC, Terry was Vice President of Development for the Freedoms Foundation at Valley Forge, Director of Development for the Wyomissing Area School District, Director of Development and Executive Director for Pottstown Education at the Pottstown School District, Economic Development Director for the Borough of Pottstown. In addition, she was Deputy Executive Director for BCIDA and was president of 7 corporations that she owned and operated, which varied from commercial property acquisition and management. Her efforts with the PA Legislature, PA Department of Environmental Protection, and Governor's Office resulted in Act 2, which allows private developers to purchase and remediate properties. The piece of legislation has resulted in thousands of acres across PA being remediated and put back to the tax rolls. Back on the tax rolls. The first property that was cleaned up under this bill was Terry's property in Boyertown. Terry's associated with BCIDA Board, BCTC, Business Education Committee, Reading-Muhlenberg CTC, President of Leadership Berks in 2012, Tri-County Chamber of Commerce, and Robeson Township Planning Committee. So that is a lot of great stuff. And I had to read all of that to you so we know who's sitting at the table with us today, and their expertise will shine through today as we go through some general questions. Hopefully we all have some takeaways. If anybody has questions throughout, we're going to try to get to them at the end of this session. If you have something pertinent related to that someone's speaking out in the moment, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll try to get you at that time too. So I'm going to start with Mark. Mark. Thank you so much for joining us today. In your role at GRCA, you deal with employers every day. What is the biggest area of concern that employers have in today's market? And how does your programming at GRCA help employers address their concerns?
Great question. Thank you, Christy. Well, as Denise had said earlier, it's all about retention and talent attraction. And that's just been an ongoing challenge that has really been amplified by the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So what we can do at the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance is through our leadership development training is develop a better culture within organizations. As Denise said, when you are having a workforce that's engaged, one that's having fun, you're going to have a higher retention rate. And what we have found is that a 5% increase in retention rate a lot of times increases the profitability of the organization 25%. So how can we do that? It's by developing leaders. And our programming at the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance is really focused on a specific kind of leadership development skill set. It's more transformational. It's more looking at how we can help the attendees consider all the possibilities within themselves, how they show up each day, because that has a direct correlation on how engaged the employees will be. And one other thing within the manufacturing realm, what studies have shown is that if you are engaged, your quality actually goes up considerably. So through leadership, through our transformational leadership or lead worker training, as Denise said, it's so vital to have your lead workers involved, being able to inspire and aspire to greater things within the organization, supervisor training and our management training. So we put all that together, Christy, and we think we have a really good solution to help the retention and talent attraction problem. And the other thing is we're really blessed in Berks County to have 3 fantastic providers, Bonnie with RAC and Terry with MRC and ourselves. I know we're all passionate. We want you to succeed. So together we work, and I think today is a really great example of what we can do when we harness and pull all of our resources together.
Thanks, Mark. That's great. Alexia, you're here today representing a manufacturing employer. What strategies have you found to help you attract and retain talent in this tight labor market?
Sure, thank you for the question. So I'll present first sort of a broad approach, and then a few activities that we've tried to really take a new, fresh look at some of our practices. And so the first sort of broad approach is what I like to call really making friends and inviting people over. So an example of that would be, in my past job, we worked with staffing agencies, a few of them actually. And so it's really important to get the right kind of talent that's a good fit for you and you a good fit for them, to make sure that your partners, including staffing agencies, have toured your property, they've met with your managers, and they understand the benefits of your job and the requirements of your job. So that's one sort of source. Another is CareerLink. Such a valuable resource in general, but in our area, I've partnered with them on many occasions. But it's really important to invite your local CareerLink over for the same reasons. Because they have people coming to them sort of at a loss for where to go next. I've applied to all these places, I'm not getting any callbacks, here's what I'm looking for. And if they are very familiar with your facility and what you're looking for, they can help make that connection. And then I don't want to forget to mention the nonprofits in our area as well. There's so many nonprofits in our area alone that are assisting their clients in their job search needs and rehabilitating them from a variety of circumstances to be ready for the workforce. So at one point, it was in my last job, we actually reached out to the United Way. They're such an incredible partner. I love our Berks County United Way. If any of you were here, I appreciate you. So our United Way, I reached out to them and I said, hey, we really need some new sources for talent. Which ones of your partner agencies are focused on workforce development for their clients? And they sent me a couple of contacts. We invited them on site. It was lunch, and we provided chocolate and swag, and we provided a presentation on who we are and what we do and how we are able to provide their clients with life-sustaining wages and benefits. So really help them connect the dots for how we could benefit their clients. So that's what I like to call making friends and inviting people over. The next one is a little bit more, tactical, and it maybe speaks more to the HR community, but really taking a hard look at your job requirements was something that we did in our last job when we said, look, we're not finding, the kinds of people that we need for this job. Let's look at, the years of experience. Is 3 years manufacturing experience really required in your specific industry, or are there translatable skills and experiences from maybe construction, because they have, that hands-on experience, they have some of that labor, they have some of that, troubleshooting, and if not that, maybe some HVAC technician, auto technician. So really just kind of rethinking when you have on your job posting, 5 years chemical experience required, you're really disincentivizing folks to, apply for your job. Another area is diploma and GED. We really had to sit back and think, why is that a job requirement? It's because you want some level of competency associated with your job. But what we ended up doing was partnering with, again, CareerLink, and we had them come in and conduct this work keys assessment to really help us identify truly what skills are being used in our workplace. And then we implemented work keys testing, that means for every candidate that applied for our job and we thought they would be a good fit, we had them go to the local CareerLink, and they would take these 3 tests that we had picked out. And then we could literally see real-time competency and whether or not they would be a good fit for our job. And it was just one of the factors we considered of many, but it helped us understand, not just, do we want to hire them, but once we hire them, if they're kind of lower in maybe their math or if they're lower in their reading for comprehension, they might need some more time and training, and so we would customize and plan their onboarding that way. And then the last area in terms of reviewing job requirements is we also, again, had to take a hard look at another one of our requirements, which was, is a clean background really necessary? In a variety, that's across industries that will vary. And manufacturing, what can what can we work with and work around? And, I would tell candidates in this particular, employer I worked with, I said, there's some backgrounds we just can't, work with, and that's things like arson because of the nature of our business, and we were a Department of Homeland Security, watched company. But I said, when people ask us, well, what kinds of backgrounds can you work with? Tell me, what's that like for you? And we made a commitment as an employer and a partner in this community, we will look at the totality of the circumstances. And that includes things like not necessarily the conviction date, but the date of the offense. There can be years between those things, and people can do a lot of good and do a lot of change in between that time. But so there's, date of offense, there's the nature of the offense, what kind of rehabilitation have they gone through since then? Have they held a job? Have they have they volunteered and gained work experience that way? So, a lot of times I believe in my conversations with other employers that they actually don't know what their stance is on backgrounds. So some employers might have a hardline policy, and I would encourage you to take another look at that and really compare what's necessary in your industry, what are your customers, concerned about. But if you don't know your company policy, maybe they don't even have one, just look through your customer requirements, like I said, look at, the industry, and then look at, and then just kind of go through some of the potential backgrounds that you may end up seeing and which ones can you work with.
Thanks, Alexia. That is a great point that you make there, too, for employers to be taking a closer look at their hiring criteria and just getting creative in general. I'm going to move down to Bonnie next. Bonnie, thanks for being here today. As the Executive Director of Schmidt Training Technology Center, have you been able to identify common threads from employers in what types of training is needed for their current and future workforce?
Thanks, Christy. It's, as I think about the question, it's interesting because I spent almost equal time in manufacturing as I've now spent as director of workforce or in a workforce capacity working in higher education. And when I was thinking about the common threads, some of the common threads are, I think, what everyone in this room who works in manufacturing or is attached to manufacturing realizes that anything that you're going to teach someone is really applied. Applied is huge. There's always theory. Theory is good. But the ability to actually apply that theory and realize how does math actually make life easier. That's a total key. And then I was thinking, over really almost 40 years of working either in manufacturing or in workforce, some common things, no matter what the environment has been or what the economy has been. And I've, like many of you in the room, I've seen a lot. We've seen good times, we've seen recessions, we've seen unfortunately, pandemics now. And 3 trainings keep coming back, like no matter what the environment is, no matter what the state of the economy is. And it really does roll to safety, but safety is huge. Companies will always figure out how to do safety training, because you have to, right? And then the other one is maintenance or industrial maintenance, because you're not gonna make anything if your machines are down. And that's why manufacturers are in business. And that's something that's interesting. I do have to explain that to students that come in or folks who aren't really understanding what manufacturers do. But manufacturers, if you're in business to make product. You don't make it because you feel like it, or sometimes it's fun, but you make it because you want to sell it and you're making a profit. So industrial maintenance, whatever you want to call that, technology, technical training is always there. And then the other thing, and Mark brought this up, and I think all of us can attest to this sitting at the table, is leadership, supervisory, lead worker. Because again, when it all comes back, if you have somebody who's not properly trained in managing people or teaching people or interacting with people, that's a safety concern. It can be a safety concern because perhaps the person's going to be dangerous on the job. It can be a safety concern because there could be liability involved with that. So those are, in my mind, the 3 common trainings, no matter what the environment you guys are willing to invest in. The other stuff, if you can, you do it. Things like project management. Quality is huge, but quality is now considered, it used to be quality was a point of difference. Quality is now just a point of doing business. Everybody expects quality. Everybody expects your shipping and your delivery to be on time, whether you're an end product manufacturer or whether you're an in-process manufacturer. But I do think that, when we think about what we want to, common threads, the applied, anything you can do to tailor or customize that training to the job, to the employee, is also really beneficial for not just the company, not just the worker, but also for that recruitment. Because people talk and people say, when I'm at work, I actually get the opportunity to learn, and then I go do it. I get to actually use it. There's nothing worse than really being asked to go learn something and then never being able to use it.
Thanks, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
Terry, in your role at Manufacturing Resource Center, you would work with a variety of employers as well. What resources do you find to be most beneficial to local manufacturers as they try to leverage today's workforce?
Yeah, I'm going to echo what everyone else on the panel has said so far, but definitely the retention part of it has been something that I'm hearing more and more when I'm talking to manufacturers, when we all are at MRC. And they're kind of lost. So a lot of the things that the Tooling U woman said to us previously is pretty much key about retention. But some of the things that we've been doing is more and more onboarding. And it's more just the orientation. What we found going out to these companies is that they would, get that person in, and your first day of work, you're filling out your paperwork, and you're watching the video, and then they might send you to your workstation, and they introduce you to Joe, because he's been there for 10 years, and Joe's going to show you how to use the machine. And then, thanks for coming, and we'll see you again. And that's not working anymore. It's definitely not. People want to feel that they have a connection, and that they're part of the team, and that they know what's going on. They know where the restroom is, they know where the lunchroom is, and they have a buddy that's going to be helping them through that process, as well as a mentor and a trainer. And that's important. You have to get the right person. And that's one of the things that we've been working on with a lot of companies, the onboarding process, is to have a process where at the minute that they're signed on, there's a welcoming package, if you would, that's taking them right from the recruitment all the way through their days, their first, second day, their 60th day there, and so on. So that's a big process. Another part is the development. When people are joining, even if it's an entry level, they want to see their career pathway, to say, okay, pay attention to me. I'm coming in here and this is my job, but what's next for me? What do you see for me as a person? What's my development path? So they want to see that they're going to become a problem solver, that they're not just going to be sitting behind a machine and pushing that button. They're going to be solving problems. They know how to do certain things. They know how to connect with people. They know the other people on the team, and they also know why and how they're doing that job. What's the end game for me making this? Does it go into an airplane part? Is it something important in an operating room? You need to tell the person the why as well, so that they know that they're part of a bigger connection here.
I love that. It's about the big picture for sure. Mark, back to you here. How can employers achieve overall organizational success through leveraging available resources right here in our area? Maybe you can touch on funding, grants that might be available.
So really, the first step is really a needs assessment and really understanding what the skill gaps are within your organization. And this is really a two-step process in understanding the skills that need to be developed, but at the same time, it allows you the opportunity to really reflect on your strategy and your vision. And as Bonnie and Terry were saying, really focusing on the individual, because today things are different. And one of the ways that it's different is people really truly need to understand the value that they bring to their work. They want to take pride in it. They want to have that accountability. So some of the things that we do after the needs assessment is really help you understand and put together in cohort with MRC, RAC, and our other providers in the area a really comprehensive game plan. So it's customized and it's tailored to your specific needs. Now, we have some really great resources. We have Dan Fogarty and Rory from the Workforce Development Board, and and Bonnie can talk to this definitely much more in depth, WEDNet funding, The GRCA is embarking upon an IP training grant for 2022-23, and as part of that, we are going to be having training sessions, webinars, on how you can better perform needs assessments. So I think this all wraps up into A, understand where you are, where you want to go, B, realize that you do have support through WEDNet, through the IPs, and that you have providers here who are willing to help. And I know if we can't help, we share it, we find out. We're basically the clearinghouse to help you, so you don't have to spend the time. You know, we're the experts. This is what we do every day. So come to us, and we'll make it easier for you.
Perfect. Alexia, as an employer, what types of training do you offer your employees now, and do you have that tied into any type of career advancement or incentives?
Sure. So it's funny. I look around the room and I just see, honestly, a room full of friends and colleagues that I've been working with for years. And so when it comes to the training that I'm familiar with, first of all, let me say I'm newer to my role at Arkema. What's great about working for a global company like they are is that we have a lot of internal training options and opportunities. So what I'd like to reference more so is in my last position, we did a whole lot of in-person training using local providers. I'll share with you a couple of them. MRC we actually used for what's referred to as training within industry training. And it was 4-hour trainers. And as Denise Ball mentioned, you can't just focus on a good training plan, because if you don't have an effective and engaged trainer, it's going to just fall. It's going to fall on deaf ears. So we worked on our trainers by providing this it was more of a technical training for the trainers on how to effectively train. Is that enough trains? And in addition to that, we also worked with the chamber to provide some customized soft skills training to go along with those. The communication, and we included the things that we thought were important based on our workforce demographics. So, we're blessed to have a combination of, some well-standardized programs with some very competent instructors, as well as, customized training offerings, standard and customized training offerings through the Greater Reading Chamber. Also through the chamber, we relied heavily on their lead worker certificate program and their supervisory series. When we saw people who were really showing a lot of initiative on the floor, we made it a opportunity for them to be able to leave the plant floor, go to the chamber, take this lead worker training, and really refine these skill sets and leverage their initiative to actually move into a trainer capacity. So that's one way we link the training to more opportunities. And then when we when people finish their training certificate, and they really showed an extra level of initiative, and they were really effective trainers, we also had them go through the supervisory series. We actually posted, to all of our employees, we said, hey, look, if you're interested in more, if you want to do more, if you want to be identified for potential openings for supervisor in the future, let us know. And then, as there are courses available through the chamber, we will enroll you. So we made that an open offering, and people, with that initiative, with that motivation, made themselves known. And we also recognize people too. But we leverage those two programs at the chamber, fairly regularly. We also partnered with the Literacy Council, and I think I saw Ryan here. So at the Literacy Council, we sent one of our employees who was English second language. He really saw himself with a low ceiling because of some of his limitations, and just not feeling comfortable that he would have much room to grow without, going through some more professional development training. So he used one of their courses, which was a blend of sort of English second language and, workforce development, professional development, and, we enrolled him in that. At the same time, we were also supporting the Literacy Council. I think the company provided something like a $15,000 grant to them so that they could, expand some of their, offerings to the public for free. So it's another example of partnering, right? So we supported them, and then we eventually had an employee that we sent to them, and they were able to support us. And then, of course, we've used RAC and Penn State University as well, largely for their technical training. We've sent folks from our maintenance department, usually it's maintenance or engineering, and they would go for courses like, PLC. And typically, it's when we identified, okay, here's the skills that we need for our department. Here's where we think, some of the skill sets that they are lacking, and then we would offer them the opportunity to go to these courses, and we did that on many such occasions.
That's great. Sounds like that really helps with your retention efforts as well, so that's fantastic. Bonnie, I'm going to jump to you again. What programs at RAC do employers utilize most to upskill and invest in their employees with regard to advanced manufacturing?
Well, I'm sensitive first to the term advanced manufacturing, because if you Wikipedia it, advanced manufacturing is really, the definition is a manufacturer that's using cutting edge technology and innovation. And I think that every manufacturer, whether you classify yourself as advanced or not, it uses innovation every day, especially in today's world, and you have your own cutting edge technologies. And that's one thing that I love about our region here, is that every manufacturer is so diverse. Sometimes that makes that difficult in being able to serve all those diverse needs, but I think that makes everybody so unique, and everybody is really advanced in their manufacturing efforts. So at the Schmidt Training and Technology Center, we're well known obviously for our industrial maintenance, mechatronics, machining, our technology training. So that would be something, no matter what manufacturer we're working with, we're going to be known for that. We're going to serve them in that capacity. And if you want to talk about, again, more of the advanced things that we've been providing, robotics, we do robotics training for quite a few manufacturers, both in FANUC and Yaskawa or Motoman. Those are the one and two robots in the world used in industry. And also, Alexius just said, we also, PLC and networking is huge, so a lot of folks are using PLC, computer controlled. Where we're not totally, we have the capability, but we haven't really been able to embrace with a lot of manufacturers, is in that nebulous Industry 4.0 smart AI world. We have the capabilities, and I think as we continue to navigate these times, I think we're going to, little by little, we need to actually, you guys need to understand the needs, and you need to understand how to, it's not a blanket, you can't just lay that on top of something. You really need to start to look at where it's justified, look at how you integrate it, look at where it makes sense to incorporate it. But I really do believe, like in the short run, in the next, I would say, really 1 to 2, 4 years, many manufacturers are going to have to start to look at how they become utilizing that technology a little bit more fully in their plants and in their equipment.
Thanks so much. Terry, in your role, do you help employers identify areas in which they could use assistance? What are the steps you take to help local manufacturers understand what they can do to continue to develop a plan to further develop their business and their employees?
At MRC, we have, again, lots of different companies that we work with in the region. Berks is our largest region with over 500 manufacturers here alone. So we have to take the approach that, like Bonnie said, every manufacturer is different. They have different processes, they have different culture, they have different products, and so forth. So we take a very customized approach to all of them. Our training and development programs run from everything from onboarding, supervisor training, all the way through to smart technology. And some of the companies that we're working with now, they're realizing that they need help. They need more people. So one of the things that we're working with them is things like automated guided vehicles. So instead of a forklift driving around, they have a robot basically going around and taking product from point A to point B. We are definitely developing the people, because that's really where the most valuable asset that you have is in your people. So a lot of our training is really focused on problem solving and letting those people take ownership of what they're doing and understand what they're doing. All of our training is lean based, and what that means basically is continuous improvement. So what we're doing is continually improving not only the process and maybe the product and the quality, but the person as well. So our training, we could do it in a public setting. So we have a lot of events that are either free or very low cost, and you could use WEDNet funds or some other funding that MRC has available to us. And we work with the company to provide that training either on-site at their location, and we customize it. And we've done a lot of different training for many of you here in the audience, or public settings, and some of those are free. They come into our location, which is right over the line in Fogelsville. And we have a lean lab that's been designated up there that pretty much it gives the experience of a factory setting, and we can control the experiment. So your people can come in there and they could, realize and experience what the wrong way to do it and then the right way to do it, basically. So a lot of that training that we do is hands-on, because your people, they don't want to see a PowerPoint. They want to touch, they want to feel, they want to smell it, they want to see what this feels like. And our training is very interactive. So when they're coming in, they're experiencing what that would be like in their environment back where they're at. A lot of the companies that we're working with now, they're seeing the value and the impact of developing their people and having a plan for their people, because right up to now a lot of them didn't, and they're seeing the results of that, and they're seeing that they really have to focus on their culture right now, and we can help them do a lot of those things. There's a lot of, not only us up here, but there's other assets out there that we work with. Your CTEs here, so your career and technical centers here in Berks are fabulous. I mean, I work with them constantly. And they are the ones that are training your future workforce, and even some of your current workforce people for that matter. So they're the ones that need to hear from all of us what is needed at their level. And Dan Fogarty's shaking his head. He and I sit and we work with those committees, and we talk to them all the time about how those programs, the training, the teaching that they're doing at that level can influence all the way through. Some other things that we have as well is we have some programs, and if you'll just bear with me one more moment, that we offer is What's So Cool About Manufacturing and the Dream Team. And you heard the Tooling U lady talk about the Dream, What's So Cool a little bit, and we have just launched here in Berks our 6th year of What's So Cool About Manufacturing. And what that does is it promotes manufacturing careers, not only to the middle school students, and they're doing a peer-to-peer marketing campaign, but it's to the entire community. And here in Berks, we've embraced this program to the point that we have probably over 600,000 community online votes for that program. And what that means is that people are getting involved. They're understanding what manufacturing is, and it's not some dirty dead-end job. It's something that has some value to it and a career pathway. The Dream Team is here today, and if you want information about that, that is promoting manufacturing careers through young professionals. So it's the young, fresh face of professionals in your organizations, whether it's a welder, a forklift driver, or a CNC operator, and that's the fresh face that students that are anywhere from K to 12, they want to see. They want to see what is my career pathway? What could it look like? What's a value in my future? So that's another program that we could also offer to manufacturers here. And we've had great partners. RAC has been a partner with that. GRCA, the WIB for sure has been a big supporter. So we invite you, if you're interested in any of those programs, to either talk to us or MRC.
Thanks for that information. This next question, it's maybe a two-part for Mark and Bonnie. Mark, what type of guidance can you give to local manufacturers that are struggling to connect the dots or might not know where to start? And you had mentioned WEDNet earlier, so I'll ask Bonnie to touch on that briefly and maybe suggest what other local manufacturers who are looking to customize their training or specific needs to benefit their employees, how can they utilize funding as well? So Mark, did you want to start?
Sure, thank you. So as I said previously, it really starts with reaching out to us. We can give you guidance as far as developing your training plan, looking at your needs assessment, and really finding the best in best provider for you. And it could be GRCA, it could be MRC, it could be RAC, it could be the Literacy Council. We're in here to make you succeed. So what we really try to do is have that conversation. Reach out to us, and I'll be at the table afterwards today. Come over to our training facility. We have a beautiful training facility in Wyomissing. We customize our programming just for you. We'll bring it in-house. When we had the pandemic back in 2020, we turned around and we went virtual, and then we went hybrid within 5 days. And that's something that we live and breathe. And we really think it's important, as the others have said, to have consistency, congruency in your training and leadership development model so that everyone's speaking the same language. When you speak the same language, you develop a culture where people will want to come, want to work, and really apply themselves and be engaged. So that's the first step. As I mentioned earlier with the IP, the training grants with Dan and the Workforce Development Board, there is money, there are resources out there for you. I know this past week a number of manufacturers reached out to me, and we were able to find solutions for them. And I think that's what's so great about this, is that seeing you in the audience, I can see how well invested you are, and you can feel the passion of everyone up here on the stage.
Bonnie, did you want to add to that?
Sure. So in the world of WEDNet, and I won't get into the weeds on WEDNet, but it's a Pennsylvania state-funded program that's been around for over 20 years. And it's been around because manufacturers, which it's mostly focused on, because you guys have continued to allow the partners, 29 of them in the state of Pennsylvania, mostly community colleges and state institutions, state schools, to be able to make good argument that this funding is needed. So that's why it has been around. And some years it's been tough. Some years, you know, you've been getting letters from your partner to say, hey, tell us why you need this money. Tell us how many people that you've used it for, because sometimes it goes on the chopping block of the budget. However, you know, as a manufacturer or a related business that's eligible for the funding, a couple key things on it is some rules have changed. It used to be 2 separate pots that used to be able to dip out of essential skills and advanced. One big giant pot up to $2,000 an employee. And anyone, this is huge, anyone in your company, okay? Even, and I'll just say it, Chris Pruitt at East Penn Manufacturing, he can spend $2,000 and get training. It used to be if you had more than one level of supervision reporting to you, nobody thought you needed training. I guess we thought everybody, hey, you knew it all, right? Well, to be honest, the pandemic actually, I think, is what turned that switch, because I think we all realized, hey, a lot of us don't know how to use Zoom. A lot of us don't know how to operate remotely, and that goes clear up to the top, right? So that's a little bit on WEDNet. On the, you know, again, to talk a little bit about maybe some recommendations for customizing training. You know, we can call it needs analysis, we can call it gap analysis, we can call it current state, future state, whatever it is. I just recommend that if you can take the folks that understand the job, okay? And sometimes that's the person doing it, sometimes that's the person doing it and the person supervising it, sometimes it's the owner of the company. But when you can take the time to really understand the job and understand the needs of that worker, that employee that's going to do the job, really understand, put that down, and then look at the areas that perhaps there is no training available. You know, things that the employee will tell you, I could do my job a lot better if I understood this, if I had a better understanding of, you know, applied math. I think a lot of people underestimate or assume. I mean, everyone in this room has had their fair share of math. I will guarantee you, everyone in this room, we could do some simple math right now, and you'd have to go, how do I apply that? How does that work? How do I take fractions and multiply them? And the truth is, don't forget that your workforce struggles with that too. You know, that you throw something at them, and it might be, you know, geez, we learned that back in 5th grade. But a refresher on that, how to apply that. We teach math every day of the week in the Technology Center, and it's again, it's the universal language. The other thing I think a lot of folks make assumption or overlook is logical thinking, okay? You know, not everyone does understand how to troubleshoot logically or how to go about problem solving logically. Again, don't underestimate that. That is huge, and it will help your workforce, it'll help every employee in your company to be able to really look at a problem and get through it quickly and understand it and get to the root cause. Take the time to cherry pick when you can. We offer in the technology, in all of our technical training, pre-assessment. So if you have somebody, you know, you have a mechanic that's been with you, electrician, a PLC tech that's been with you for, 25 years, and you think, well, I want to send them for some, upskilling in a course, and they're like, well, I already know how to do that. Well, they might, right? So we offer everything we do in the building. We can give them a quick pre-assessment to determine do they have the theory and the hands-on ability, and then let's not waste time and money. So then let's adjust the curricula, adjust the program to make sure that they are getting what they need, but we're not missing anything. We're not boring them, we're not, having them check out because they already did all that, and we're hitting the areas that they really need. And I think I said this earlier, but be aware that people really, and again, especially now with the different generations, people want to use what they learn. There is nothing worse, and I hear it from employees that are sent in, and they're like, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna do my best in this, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna be able to go back out and use it. And that's really hard. It's hard because they put in you might be paying for it, and they put in their time, and they really try hard to really understand it, and then they don't get a chance to go use it. So again, that goes back to that needs analysis. It goes back to the ability to take a look at the job, take a look at the employee, and make sure that what they're learning is going to be applied.
That's great information, thank you. And I do have just 2 more questions. We're coming up to 10:15. Alexia, if you could share with us, as an HR manager in manufacturing, you have probably one of the most challenging jobs in the world right now. But I'd like to see if you could share any specific tools that you've found helpful, and how have you been able to just start to put the pieces of the puzzle together?
Sure. So there's so many options and ideas out there for, where to look for talent and what to do differently right here and right now with the talent that is available and looking for work. So there's lots of options. But what I'd like to point out is that there's also an opportunity to what I like to think of as grow your own before they're yours. Because, Dan Fogarty likes to point out, the silver tsunami, he says it probably 5 times each call, and I warn him each time to say it one more time. But no, so if we know that we're in the midst of this silver tsunami, if we know that there's this, giant skills gap, and what I would encourage you to think about really, and what I have begun to do, and it's helped me feel at ease with, this someday will come to an end. Someday we will have, the talent that we need. Is, like I said, investing in, the future workforce. So what does that look like? And what it comes down to really is essentially supporting your local workforce development efforts. So I already mentioned the example with the Literacy Council. And then the next one, one of our other partners is Berks Connections Pretrial Services. And they have this R3 program where they're providing, a continuum of training and services, but one of them is, this pre-apprenticeship program where they're getting hands-on skill building right now in construction. And so that they're working on the future workforce. And it's a short program, and these folks, they're actively applying for jobs for once they're out of this program, and they have these hands-on skills. And, so by partnering with BCPS, one of my roles is I present this session, it's Next Steps to Employment, where I try to help them understand the things that I, as an HR manager, are thinking about and that I'm looking for to help them, get their resume, to get, BCPS is working with them on their resume building, but, things they should think about as they, present their resume, as they're in the interview, once they're on the job. And so, that's me putting in the effort to potentially my future talent. And we have hired from BCPS in the past. So it's just one more example of we support them and, they support us. And then, another much sort of broader partnership is with Career Ready Berks. Career Ready Berks is, they provide sort of this meeting space, this literally, they have an online portal, but, you as an employer can log in and say, like, I want to offer my time and my experience, and then, educators pop in or providers pop in and they say, we want to use you, we want to leverage your experience to help, our, potentially K through 12 population better understand the career opportunities and the career pathways that are available to them. So we've, right now, we're working with BBEC. I was trying to remember the acronym. I'm pretty sure it's Berks Business Education Coalition. And, so they have this Students Interacting with Business program. And very soon, I think next week, I'm barely prepared for it, but we're going to have a total of, I think, 90 students coming through our facility, and they're going to be hearing from some of our professionals. They're going to be getting these career presentations to understand, the life of an HES manager and an engineer and a production worker, as well as they're going to hear from me, what are we looking for as we go about our interviews? What should you be, emphasizing to us? What are we looking for? And then they're going to tour our workplace to see, like, is this the kind of environment I want to work in? So, obviously, doing that with ninth graders isn't going to help our immediate hiring needs, but I'm doing what I can to set myself up for success in the future. And if it's not going to be us, it's going to be our community. And so, that's, it's maybe not a tool. So I hope I still, answered the question appropriately. But, growing your own before they're yours is my strongest recommendation there.
That's so important, and especially to all employers in the room right now. My last question, I know that we're a little bit over time, is for Terry and everybody. For those employers today that need to take action tomorrow, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you or learn more about the available resources that they can begin to implement?
Right, well, I think most of you know all of us up here, and we're pretty easy to get a hold of and very responsive. Another way you can do is right outside here, we have a little small table, but it's for What's So Cool About Manufacturing. And some of you are already involved with that right now. And set yourselves up in order to participate in some of those things. Make sure that you have a safe environment, that you're developing your people, that you're doing something cool, and that you're preparing for the future. So those are the companies that we look for What's So Cool About Manufacturing. If you're interested in participating in that, let me know. We have a great team that has been working on this for years. Saul Lausch is sitting here. BBEC has been an incredible partner, as well as the WIB and others here. That program really is your future workforce. Those are the future CTE students, those are the future welders and so forth. And then the other program that you could do right now is the Dream Team. That's another one that you could work on right now. And the Dream Team is your young professionals that are your fresh face of your business going and talking to students K to 12 and telling them what they're doing and how they're doing it and what kind of life they're having. So that's a big impact. And if you don't have a development plan for your workers, if you don't have a career pathway or next steps, whatever you're going to call it, talk to me or anyone. We can help you with that. We can show you what that may look like in your organization at different levels, right from the beginning onboarding all the way through your CEO level and beyond. We have lots of programs that we customize. We could do it in-house, come to your facility or Zoom, or you could come to any of our locations as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And with that, please join me in a round of applause for our panelists. We appreciate everyone's time today. With over 500 manufacturing companies here in Berks County, this information is imperative.